Hey everyone, this is Mario again, coming at you with another movie review. Today I'm reviewing a movie that came out about 5 months ago, if I'm counting right, give or take. It came out about a month earlier in the United Kingdom though, so United Kingdom would be about 7 months ago. It is a comedy film, which this is, I think, the first comedy film that I've seen this year that's from this year. And it's actually a pretty good film. And that movie is, of course, Paul. It is written, of course, by Simon Pegg and Nick Frost, who also star in the movie. And these are the two guys that brought us. Dang it, Hot Fuzz was the second film they brought us, which I have not seen that film. The first film they brought us was Shaun of the Dead, which I thought was a pretty funny comedy take on zombie films, and I actually had the pleasure of seeing it in theaters. And I have to say, that movie is a prime example of why I love British comedy. Them, Monty Python, Eddie Izzard, all British comedy, all funny. Full of British actors, very funny. Eddie Izzard reference, in case anyone's wondering. Now, if you've seen the trailers, you know what some of the funny bits in the movie are going to be, but I'm actually happy the trailer doesn't give away every single funny moment in the movie like some of these trailers do. You notice that some of the trailers for movies recently, they show all the good stuff in the movie. You go in and watch the movie and you're like, that's the movie? The trailer was better. What the heck? They must have known that the movie was bad if they edited the trailer that way. I'm happy to say that Paul does not do that. It shows some of the funny highlights, like the whole bird thing. And then the whole fart thing, which is actually a funny alien joke if you think about it. But I'm glad it doesn't show everything. Now the plot is that these two guys, Clive and Willie, with one of them I'm using his last name because I can't pronounce his first name, played by Simon and of course Nick. They're two English comic book nerds and best friends who they're going to America to attend Comic-Con, which I could say I've been there 3 years in a row. It actually is a pretty nice place to go to. And of course, they go there to meet their favorite idol, who I'm going to see if I can find the name of the actor real quick. Oh yeah, here it is. The character's name is Adam Shadowchild, and he's played by Jeffrey Tambor, who played one of the FBI agents in the Hellboy movies. He was also one of the parents in The Hangover, and well, there's one other thing I knew him from, but it was actually nice to see him in this movie. And his character was so pretentious, it made you want to go into the movie and swap his bald head, even though he's hardly in it. But it was nice to see him. Anyway, they go on a road trip in their RV, and when they're going through the desert is when they run into Paul, of course voiced by Seth Rogen, which I thought he did a good job voicing Paul. And of course now they have to help him while avoiding the FBI, who one of the agents is played by Jason Bateman, which I'm checking to see if I've seen any other films with him, because it's not a name where I think of off the top of my head. Oh, I've seen movies with him. Okay, it says here he was on Teen Wolf 2, never seen it. Oh, he was in Starsky and Hutch. Oh, that's a new thing in Dodgeball. Arthur and the Invisibles, Dark Ghost, Hancock, huh? Oh yeah, he looks friendly. I thought he looked familiar a little bit. So he wasn't Hancock, huh? He does a good job though. And of course his two inept followers, Haggard played by Bill Hadler and O'Reilly played by Joe Trujillo. They do their job okay. Now the funniest thing is that who plays the higher power that's basically controlling the government thing. It's Sigourney Weaver's playing her, which you go the whole movie without realizing it until the end, which you could if you know Sigourney's voice, you're going to be able to tell off the top that it's her. You're like, oh, that's Sigourney. And I do like that they reference Alien a little bit by a little play on her famous line from Aliens. But there's one thing that pisses me off, and this is the only thing about the movie I do not like. She uses a gun. Now, those of you who know me knows why that pisses me off. Because you know Sigourney's all anti-gun thing, and she was actually even surprised that she had to use a gun in Aliens for some reason. Didn't you read the script, Sigourney? And that's one of the reasons why I think they probably vetoed that one good script they had for Alien 3, even though Sigourney hardly is in the movie. because of the idea they were going to do for the next one where she'd have to use a gun. Sigourney, you are an actress. You're acting. I know that you probably have realized the philosophy by now, but it's a little bit too late, Sigourney. So it's okay to use a gun in a movie with friendly aliens, but not in a movie with hostile aliens. It's okay to shoot at a person, even if it's a non-fatal wound, but it's not okay to fill hostile aliens that are basically bugs full of motherfucking lead. That's not okay, Sigourney. Now I got my little Sigourney rant out of the way. Now back to the movie. There's one other character that the guys run into, which becomes important later in it, and her name is Ruth. She and her father are Christian fundamentalists that run this one RV camp thing, and it's just funny watching them because I just think it's funny how Christian fundamentalists always try to spew their thing. Oh, the Earth is only 4,000 years old. Evolution does not exist. And it's always funny to hear that stuff. And when Paul was actually getting to the argument with her in the bathroom, I couldn't help but laugh at that part. And even ahead of time, I know how he's going to win this argument. And not to give anything away, I was right with how he won the argument. And the thing about Christian fundamentalists and their argument, the Bible, only 4,000 years. I think it's easy to tell just by looking at the Earth that it's not 4,000 years old. I mean, our history alone is 5,000 of written human history. So that alone blows the whole 4,000-year argument out of the water. And another thing is, a belief in evolution does not contradict one's belief in God. For a couple of reasons. One, evolution could be God changing his creations over time, like thinking, alright, let's change that bird, let's make it a little change. Okay, it's over there now because of humans. Of course, now we got to change this creature and stuff. So it could be just part of his divine plan. And remember, God created a divine plan. Evolution could be a part of it. And also, this is another reason why I also believe in evolution a little bit. It's something that I was ironically, it was pointed out to me in a catechism class. The Bible, even though I believe parts of it were put in there by man to control people, because if you think about it, some religion has been used to control people. There's no denying that. Warren Jeffs is a good prime example of that. But it is, now the example is, you may say in the Bible that God created the earth in 7 days, but it does not say how long those days are. What I mean by that is, it doesn't mean it's 7 days for us, it could be 7 days for him. And an immortal being with supreme power, 1 day could be like an eon. So it could be just him constantly changing it, and ties in with my first thing, evolution could be part of the divine plan. So, those are just two of the things that Christian fundamentalists always like to say. Evolution doesn't exist, and 4,000 years. I think I've probably basically blown both of those arguments out of the water already, but I just find it funny when they constantly spew it out, even when another argument that basically makes their whole argument null and void comes out. They try to say, oh, you're a blasphemer. So it's blasphemy to point out the flaws in your logic? Yeah. I know some people probably use that argument against me. They'll say, oh, you just said the Bible is my man. Oh, and you believe in God still. Yeah, but that's my choice. Because for me, here's my whole argument on that. I know probably about the movie, but I had to bring it up. Just because the Bible might have been manipulated by man slowly over the centuries does not mean that a deity that created all of existence does not exist. He could probably be off on vacation, returns, he's like, what the fuck did they do? What the fuck? What the fuck? That's not what I said. I did not write blessed are the cheesemakers. Whoever gets that reference gets a cookie. But, like I said, it's just funny to see Paul get into the argument with her and how he wins it. And her character, I'm glad that her character slowly begins to... Character roots, she slowly starts to break away from the Christian fundamentalist thing, which is nice to see because I think I've already stated how I feel about Christian fundamentalists. Nothing against Christians in general, it's just, or any religion for that matter, but it's the ones that go to the fundamentalist route to think everyone who does not believe in their religion should die. Or is going to hell. Those are the ones that don't like anyone from other religions. That's what I mean by fundamentalists. Now, the acting in the movie is very well done. I mean, it's just as good as I remember their acting being in Shaun of the Dead. Do I like the film as much as Shaun of the Dead? No, but probably almost. Now Paul being brought to life through CGI, I have no problem with it. I knew it was going to be CGI. Would have been nice to see a makeup job done, but at some points in the movie, they probably would have had to use CGI. So they're like, oh, they'll go with CGI. And the CGI with Paul actually does look pretty good. It's not like cartoony CGI or something. It actually does look very realistic at points in the movie. And I love all the nods to other science fiction movies, like I mentioned, a couple nods to Aliens. Like there's a nod to Close Encounters, there's a nod to E.T., which I thought was very funny considering it has a Spielberg cameo. There's a couple nods to Star Wars and Star Trek, which Comic-Con, of course, they're going to bring those in. And then, of course, of all the nods to the science fiction fan community, which I thought was nice, especially in the Comic-Con scene. And speaking of which, the Comic-Con scenes are actually filmed pretty well. I wonder if they actually filmed these at Comic-Con. I can't tell the difference. If they filmed them on a set, that's a very good set. The writing, I should talk about it. The jokes, all of them worked. It's not like where you go to see a comedy and only a couple of the jokes work, like Disaster Movie, which only like 3 of those jokes worked out of all the movie. But here, every joke worked for me. Now, my rating for the movie, I give Paul a 4.5 out of 5 stars. If you haven't seen the movie, I recommend you give it a watch because I think it's coming out. I wonder if I can see if it's been released yet. Oh yeah, it was released a while ago. So yeah, I recommend you check it out if you're a science fiction fan or a comedy fan in general because you'll have a good time.